The first thing that I want to talk about is that we now live in a culture where we are overwhelmed by choice. Okay, we're overwhelmed by choice. In the past, when there weren't many different options for things in life, 100 years ago, if you wanted to buy a car, there weren't that many car options, and most people couldn't afford them anyway. And so it was just a dream for most people. Well, nowadays, let's say you want to buy a computer. Where do you even start? I mean, there are so many different types of computers with so many different features. Do I buy the computer with the faster hard drive? Do I buy the computer with the bigger hard drive? Do I buy the faster processor, or is it even going to make a difference when I'm just surfing the internet? How much memory do I need? Which brand is best? Which one has the best customer service? It's all so confusing. There's so much choice. Well, that is kind of counterbalanced by the idea that internally, a lot of us feel like we don't have enough personal choices for ourselves. So this is a weird dichotomy, right? We live in this culture of overwhelming choice and we're just confused. And internally, we feel like we don't have the choices that we want. So we have a lot of choice that's confusing us, but we don't have the options of having the choices that we want to have. So two of the most important skills that we're going to learn inside of Wake Up Productive are the skills of narrowing options when we have too many, and generating more options for ourselves when we have too few. If we have too many options and we get confused, we just shut down. Our minds just kind of blur out and we can't focus anymore. And if we have too few options, then we feel trapped and we don't feel motivated to take action. So we need to develop these skills called narrowing options when there are too many and generating options when we don't have enough. So we live in a culture of being overwhelmed by options, and we need to face that. We need to deal with it. The next thing that we need to understand is that we are also dealing with a culture of distraction. We live in a culture now where everyone expects everyone else to be available all the time. Our phone is always ringing. There are text messages coming in. Our email is going off. We've got people stopping by. There's always something happening, and we're always being distracted. And likewise, we think that we should be able to distract everybody else. So whenever we get the whim, we just pick up our phone and call someone. We're always checking our email, and like when we hear it go off, I have to go check this thing out. So we're always being distracted. Distraction and interruption rob us of more productivity than just about any other single factor. Distraction and interruption. And one of the things that we need to do is learn to minimize and eliminate distraction and interruption. I have a good friend who's a very, very successful guy. He and I were having a conversation a few months ago, and he said, I actually believe now that minimizing distraction and interruption is just as high a priority as any of the most important projects that you have on your plate. Okay, so it's that important that we minimize distraction and interruption, because we are now living in a culture of complete distraction. It's like the norm. It's what's happening everywhere. Next, we're becoming what I call the obsessive snacking culture. The obsessive snacking culture. And what I mean by that is that instead of eating a full, healthy meal and then allowing that to process inside of us and then eating another healthy meal, we snack. We eat a little bit of this and we eat a little bit of that, and we're always snacking between meals. That's the physical version. But that's not the one that's the most important. We're also snacking with our attention. You'll notice on the internet, video clips are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. We don't buy entire albums anymore. We just buy the song. And now we just buy the ringtone for our phone. And with MP3 players and the 10,000 songs in our car, we don't even listen to the whole song anymore. If we're listening to the radio, we're just clicking through it obsessively. We're snacking on things. Now later inside of Wake Up Productive, I'm going to talk about the idea of training your focus and expanding your ability to focus on one thing, because I think that if you obsessively snack on things, whether they be food or whether they be relationships with other people or whether they be learning, like a program like this, if you obsessively snack, you're going to be missing 80 or 90% of all the value. And we need to go deeper. We need to train ourselves to focus and go deeper on the things that are important to us and not teach our minds to become distractible. The next concept that we need to understand is that we are beginning to live in the universal culture of multitasking. of parallel processing. We are doing a million things at once. And I don't think that we're going to be able to help that we have a lot of things to do as our culture evolves. There are just more things that we want to learn. We want to get more involved in hobbies. We want to learn more about different things. The internet has made it so anyone can learn about anything for free just by surfing the internet and watching videos and getting education. I think that's a miracle. The problem, though, is, the snacking issue that I mentioned just a moment ago, but also that we start doing too many things at once. We start spinning too many plates, and we're getting dragged from one to the next to the next. Our focus is getting fragmented, like I just mentioned. But worse, we're starting to not be able to keep one plate spinning, and so they start to fall. And as it turns out, multitasking is very inefficient, and I'll explain that to you a little bit later. There are some periods in the day where you have to multitask, where you have to do a lot of things kind of at once. You check your email, and there's an email, and it requires you to call somebody, and then do another thing, and then email, and then go do this other thing online. So we're going to have to actually schedule our multitasking, so to speak. We're going to have to narrow it into little windows and do it inside of a window so it doesn't get out of control. But the mindset is we have to really minimize multitasking if we want to maximize productivity. And what we're going to learn how to do is get good at focusing on one thing that's really important and staying focused on it for a chunk of time and then disconnecting from it. When you're doing too many things at once, you can't disconnect from any of them. And that means that when you're laying in bed at night, you can't just relax and go to sleep satisfied that you did a great full day of work. You're worried about what's going on. Oh, what do I do tomorrow? And what am I going to do? And your mind's going crazy. You're parallel processing while you're trying to sleep. And when you're at work, you're doing a million things at once, and you're thinking, oh, wow, I really need to get some sleep. And so when it just gets tangled, you get into that what Tony Schwartz calls the gray zone, where it's all just a big mess. That really robs you of energy. So we want to minimize parallel processing. We want to minimize multitasking. And the multitasking that we do, we want to do it inside of little windows. And we're going to work on that later in the program. But we just need to be aware that we're also moving into a culture of multitasking. And while that's happening, while it's running off, we need to not get swept up in it. We need to step back, get a little bit of altitude, and make sure that we're only focused on those things that are really important that get us the results that we want. Another huge challenge that we have to overcome, a big challenge that we face in our quest for productivity and for being effective at life and managing our time well, is that our culture is now becoming more concerned with entertainment than we are with results. And I mean that on all levels. When we watch a movie, we're more interested in being entertained by the movie than we are in learning how to become a better person by watching it. When we watch the news, we're more interested in getting entertained in the shock factor than we are in actually learning what's going on in the world. When we eat a meal, we're more interested in having our senses entertained than we are in getting some, actual nutrients inside of us. And so the culture of entertainment is stripping out all the nutrition that lies underneath all of these different things that I'm talking about. And it's just kind of feeding us the thin veneer, the thing that titillates and excites our senses. So we have to realize that if we're going to grow, if we're going to become more productive, if we're going to become better at managing our time and getting results, is to not distract ourselves with too much entertainment, and that we need to discipline ourselves to focus on the things that get results. And that in the long run, if we entertain ourselves too much, that we're going to wind up entertaining ourselves to death. We're going to lose the ability to focus, and we're not going to get the results that we want. And if we discipline ourselves a little bit, we focus more, we expand our ability to focus, and we only focus on those things that are getting us results, we'll learn to enjoy those more and more and more, and we'll experience the long-term benefit of it. I have friends, as an example, who, they're not really that interested in taking care of their health. And when I say, why not? What I underlying their answers, what they're saying is, because it's not that fun to do. And, I've been at that place in my life too, where it's like, well, it's not that fun to eat food that's healthy. But the reality is, it's a lot more fun to feel good all the time and to have high energy and to feel productive than it is to have just a little bit of fun eating some food. But until you get that, until you experience it, until you build up the momentum and you kind of get that escape velocity in life where you really are experiencing that in life 24/7, you have that concrete realization, then you're just going to say, let me just do the entertaining thing. So you got to watch when your mind pulls you and your emotions pull you and your senses pull you. Let's go get some idle entertainment. Let's engage in some idle gossip. Let's eat some candy. Let's watch some, guilty pleasure movie or TV and say, am I really going to feel good after I do that? Why don't I go do something that feeds my spirit, right? That feeds me on another level and helps me develop into the person that I want to become. And the more that you do that, the more that you'll find it becomes a really positively addictive process. And I think you're really going to like it. So beware of the culture of entertainment and try to avoid it as much as you possibly can. Another important realization is that we are becoming a culture of magic pills, of instant results. And I think one of the underlying beliefs that is really hurting us is that there is a magic pill. I used to know somebody, I used to have a friend, and she used to talk about how her and one of her friends, they had a little inside joke. And anytime something would happen, like their hair would start turning gray, or one of their teeth would start to hurt, or they'd start getting wrinkles, they'd just say, laser, laser. And if there's not a laser treatment for it now, there will be one in 5 years, so I don't really need to worry about it. And there is a little bit of truth to that. Right? We are developing technological advances that allow us to cure things very quickly in some cases. But the idea that there's a quick fix or a magic bullet or a magic pill for the important things in life actually harms you. It's counterproductive. Believing it actually hurts you. And the example that I like to use a lot is if you go to the doctor and you're feeling some pain and the doctor says, well, take this pill, and you take the pill and the pain goes away. What if you had something, deep down, a disease that was starting? Or what if you had something underneath, an imbalance that you could have just put back into balance, but because you didn't, you covered over the symptom, you threw yourself even more out of balance, and the underlying problem became worse, right? If your car starts running funny and the check oil light comes on, you don't reach into the dashboard and pull out the light bulb. You say, okay, what's the underlying cause here? What's the thing that's really going wrong? And so if you want to become successful in your life in terms of productivity and time management and getting great results, you have to let go of this idea that there's instant pudding and magic pills for the important things. And you have to start saying, okay, what do I need to do in the system? What do I need to start doing on a daily basis so that when I wake up in 90 days, I'm getting the results that I want? The idea of the magic pill is immaturity speaking. It's the child inside of us speaking. It's the kid that wants the I want it now mommy, right? It's instant gratification talking. And if we want to become as productive as we possibly can, we have to grow up. We have to grow past that. So beware of the culture of the magic pill and of the instant results, because that's something that's very seductive and it's something that will draw you in. And if you believe in it too much, you'll wind up trying a bunch of magic pills that won't work, and you'll be worse off than you could have been if you just started doing the right thing immediately. And we're going to be talking about a lot of what the right thing is in this program, don't worry. And the last key understanding that I want to get across to you is the idea that I got from systems thinking, which is the short-term results of an action and the long-term results of an action are typically different and often opposite. Okay, so you might want to write this one down. This is very important. The short-term results of an action and the long-term results of an action are typically different and often opposite. So let's use the example that we were just talking about, food. Let's say that you get yourself a big bag of some of those really cheesy corn chips, okay? Really flavorful and crispy. What's the short-term result of taking the action of eating one of those chips? Well, it's pleasure. You get to experience the crunchy feeling, you taste the saltiness in your mouth, and you get to experience the mouthfeel and the joy of swallowing that yummy food. What's the long-term result of eating those chips? Well, usually within about 10 or 15 minutes, you'll notice that your energy starts to drop. Your body starts to freak out because there's often, too much sodium and MSG and a bunch of other stuff in there. And you do this for a long enough time and you'll gain weight, you'll mess your system up, and you could even start to really harm yourself. You can give yourself disease. So what do we do when that happens as humans? We stop paying attention to how we feel. We get out of touch with our body and our emotions so that when we start feeling bad, we just don't pay attention to it. Or even worse, we go drink some caffeine to try to pep ourselves up because our body's starting to feel weak or sick, or we start to take some aspirin and we just send ourselves on this spiral, right? I'm starting to sound like a health nut now, aren't I? Well, in a sense, I kind of am, because I found that the more of that stuff I cut out of my life, the healthier I become, the more clarity I have. And so, I am a little bit of an advocate for being exceptionally healthy. But the bottom line is the short-term result of eating the chip and the long-term result are very different. Likewise, let's take the opposite end of that continuum. Let's say it's eating raw broccoli, for instance. Not a lot of people that I know would stand up and say raw broccoli is my very favorite food. I happen to eat a lot of raw broccoli. It wouldn't be the first thing that strikes me. I actually put it in salads and things like that. But the short-term result of eating raw broccoli as you're eating it, especially if you're not accustomed to it and you haven't eaten a lot of raw broccoli, is you're going to go, it kind of tastes like grass and I don't know. But what's the long-term result of eating raw broccoli? Well, for the next few hours, your body's going to feel good. It's going to be getting a lot of nutrients, and it's going to be getting a lot of different things that make it feel great. And it's going to be thanking you with energy. And if you eat raw broccoli over the long term, raw broccoli has all kind of antioxidants and anti-cancer properties that I've read about and so forth. I'm no doctor, by the way, just a little caveat. I've read about this stuff and I've found that it works for me. But if you do it long term, you'll probably find, if you're like most people that eat a lot of raw broccoli, that it helps you feel healthier. You feel better in the long run. Short-term results, different from the long-term results. Well, that's the way that most important areas of life are. The short term and the long term are different. My friend Joe Polish says, life is hard if you live it the easy way, and easy if you live it the hard way. And that's a quote that I think is worth writing down. Life is hard if you live it the easy way, and easy if you live it the hard way. And if you can just get a little bit of momentum, you can just get yourself doing the right things on a regular basis, consistently, before your mind runs off and you go, I got to go have those chips. I think that you'll find that you'll get more and more momentum. I think you'll find that you'll get more and more momentum. It'll start to build an energy and kind of a force of its own, and it'll get to the point where it tips over, it's the tipping point, and your life will become so good, you'll become so productive that you won't want to go back to the old way of doing things that are only short term. So here's a little phrase for you to kind of sum up these ideas, these key understandings. Change the system, not the symptom. Change the system, not the symptom. If you go to work on the symptoms, you're just going to be repressing. You're just going to be pushing down something that's trying to tell you something. If you go to work on the system and affect the system and the structure and make the structure of your life better, you will get exponentially better. And then you won't even need to worry about the symptoms as much because they won't come up. And even things like eating raw broccoli, if you will just do it every day for 30 days, you can reacclimate yourself. If you'll just quit watching the guilty pleasure news for 30 days, you'll reacclimate and you won't miss it anymore. But those 30 days will be a challenge. And inside of Wake Up Productive, I'm going to teach you how to deal with those 30 days and how to make sure you get through them and you come out the other side having the life and the results that you want.